Make sure you get everything like you want it.
Well, good evening, Sigma Race fans. We come at you live here tonight from Berlin Raceway in Michigan. And we are going to run our own rendition of Show Me the Money 150, where the Sigma ARCA drivers get ready to face a tough challenge here on a very short track. We got 2 heat races, an LCQ, and the main event to top it all off tonight. All of our lead-up races are going to be 50 laps in duration. And let's get on with the show here, folks. 21 cars in Heat 1, 21 cars in Heat 2, and then we'll have a 20-car LCQ to figure out who all makes the main event here tonight. Starting on the front row, you've got newcomer Snake Plissken for Al Bunch Incorporated alongside TG Castlenet for Jacob Schenkel Racing. It's going to be huge to have track position in such a short heat race. Those two are going to be looking pretty solid, as only the top 3 are going to transfer to the main event here. Followed behind them, you've got Craig Bush and Bucky Campbell, Chris Jaramillo and Dylan Smith, Kaylee Sheets and Astro Atlas, Tasha Wright and Billy Lovejoy. Then we've got Timothy Buchanan, Jamison Thole, Wormy Wormington, and Chase Kovacic. A lot of our high up in the points drivers in this first heat race. It's going to be tough to see some of them get knocked out here tonight. AJ Kosnoff alongside Taylor Cording, Craig Popkris and Stephen Miller, Tyler McCarroll and Joseph Hayes, with Sophie Harwick rounding out the field here tonight. A lot of unknown. The Sigma ARCA series has not yet run here before. So with that unknown, we're all in for one big surprise here tonight. Someone's going to come out victorious at a new track here in the Sigma ARCA series. Pace car pulls off, and we're going to get rolling for 50 laps here in heat number 1. Snake Plissken gets off to the early lead there, getting the advantage on TG Castlenet. And TG wants to get down to that bottom lane as soon as possible. The longer he hovers up in that high lane, the more likely he's going to fall backwards here tonight. One standout some folks might be noticing here is the safety measures with a few of these Sigma ARCA races are kind of in the lacking variety. I mean, look at our backstretch. There is no wall to protect these drivers if they lose control. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a race at Wiscasset, which also had a very similar layout. In this day and age, it's actually kind of crazy that there's tracks out there that are not fully walled all the way in. If you're carrying enough speed, you can go tumbling through the grass back there, and you do not want to do that. You'll be waking up sore and stiff the next morning. Well, in his debut with the series, Snake Plissken leading the way. The number 24 Dodge Dart for Al Bunch Incorporated. Looking pretty solid right out of the gate. Currently, the fastest lap in the race belongs to Plissken. 6 laps in. Second fastest in the race is TG Castlenet, just right there behind him. So it's interesting with these heat races, and even the main event tonight, we're not going to have a field any larger than this. 21 cars make up the main event field. It's going to be interesting to see how strong our point contenders are here today at the new track. Running in third in what would be the last transfer spot from heat number 1 is Craig Bush LFG Motorsports. It's been a rough year, and I think they're trying to get the ship righted. You know, even though it might be a rough year, you just got to find the positives in the entire season on a bad year such as 2025. First driver slated to go to the LCQ would be Bucky Campbell, Chris Jeremio, Tasha Wright, Kaylee Sheets, Timothy Buchanan, Dylan Smith, AJ Kosnoff, Wormington, along with Craig Popchrist and Sophie Harwick. The rest of the drivers behind this are at risk of going home tonight, no matter what happens. Tyler McCarroll, if he doesn't get up one more spot, he's going to be eliminated here tonight. As well as Joseph Hayes, Stephen Miller, Astro Atlas, Taylor Cording, Billy Lovejoy, Chase Kovacic, and Jamison Thole. So, yep, as it sits right now, Harwick, your last driver that would make it to the LCQ. Definitely a couple extra wrinkles in the fold here tonight, as we do have an LCQ. We don't often have 3 heat races in a Sigma ARCA event, but with the super small confines of Berlin Raceway, we run it a little bit differently here tonight. Man, Snake Plissken is out there on a tear here in his first ever start in the Sigma ARCA series. TG Castlenut still holding on to second. Craig Bush in third. This is just an appetizer for a few of these drivers to the 150 lap main event later. That LCQ is going to be pretty wild. Top 2, it's going to really come down to track position, I imagine. And if you qualify top 2, you're more than likely going to be the 2 drivers moving on to the main event here tonight. This is actually a big move here. If Tyler McCarroll can gain one more spot, he will move into the LCQ and knock Harwick out. So we're going to keep our eyes on this battle for now, because it looks like things could get heated here for that final bubble to the LCQ. Just ahead of them, they're duking it out pretty hard for about 10th position there. Kosnoff's getting shuffled up here. This could spell trouble for the 65. Sophia Harwick riding right there on his bumper. The one that's really going to hurt here is Stephen Miller, who is really high up in the points. And whoa, he just got so loose on the backstretch there as we had the camera rolling. That looked like an accident waiting to happen. I don't know what went on. Maybe the track took him by surprise. Man, it's becoming a little bit harder here as time is ticking away. Our short track stint is almost over here. The summer of short tracks in Sigma Racing, Sigma ARCA that is, where we started at Wiscasset, went to Five Flags, Evergreen, Berlin, and then we're going to cap it off next week with the Chili Bowl Racing facility. And it'll be the Chili Cheese 150 with these Sigma ARCA drivers. That one will be interesting as we'll take to the dirt for the first time this year. And then the next race on the schedule is actually a street circuit. So the month of June, keeping it interesting. All these short tracks lead to a street circuit in New York. New York Street Circuit. A first for the series that all four are going to be racing on the same track in the same week. Imagine how that would be in real life if you had everything from ARCA to Xfinity, trucks, and Cup all at one venue. The logistics would probably be a nightmare. All the haulers from all the different teams, can only imagine how hard that would be. But of course, we're playing a video game here, so the video game does not care about logistics. And we're going to be rolling all four racing series, the same racetrack, in the same stretch of time. Well, 15 laps left in this heat. Your top three, I don't think, have changed. We'll jump up there and see. Yeah, Pliskin is on a cruise up front. That car is baking out there. TG Castlenet earning it here tonight, staying out of trouble. Finally an ARCA event where it's not a wreck fest in the heat race like we've seen the last couple runs. TG Castlenet has been on the wrong end of ARCA wrecks in the last couple weeks. Probably breathing a huge sigh of relief knowing that he's going to be safe. Doesn't even have to come through the LCQ if he can hold on to that position for 12 more laps. Craig Bush in third. And then your LCQ drivers lining up here for the LCQ. As with the setup, I do have some brief intermissions between the heats to the main event. LCQ will take a bit of a setup as well, so I'm going to try to be proactive here and get the notes jotted down so that I can get things rolling through the heat races here tonight. So it comes down to the last 5 laps here in heat number 1. Sophie Harwick still holding on to that last spot for what would be an LCQ start here tonight. She's trying to look around AJ Kosnoff here, and that would give her a little bit more breathing room on the drivers raring and ready to take her position behind her. 96 of McCarroll knows what's on the line here. If he doesn't get past that 21, it's sayonara, heading home in the hauler before the main event racing even starts. Whoa, when he gets sideways there, he's going to try to give it a push with 3 laps to go. I can see the momentum out of the 96. He's trying his hardest. Is he going to have enough in the tank to make a move on Sophie for 13th here? Looking strong. Harwick getting held up by the 65 in front of her 96, and McCarroll still trying to close that gap. White flag in the heat race. One more lap around the track. Well, actually, NR might have very well just given the checkered flag to everyone. I know on these short tracks that it doesn't always let everyone finish their lap. Okay, it'll let them finish their lap, and it's going to be Sophie Harwick making it to the LCQ here tonight. Basically holding on by the skin of her teeth there. And nothing changed up front. Your top 3 moving on to the main event is none other than Snake Plissken, TG Castlenut, and Craig 18 of Craig Bush. So hold tight, folks. We're going to get things squared away here. Unfortunately, going home tonight, tough way to start the racing evening here for a few folks. We have to say farewell to Tyler McCarroll, Joseph Hayes, Stephen Miller, Taylor Cording, Astro Atlas, Chase Kovacic, Billy Lovejoy, and Jamison Thole. There's always the next race. This one, unfortunately, was a tough one to get through the field. It looked like kind of came down to qualifying. Wherever you qualified here tonight was going to make the difference. So, congratulations, Snake Plissken. We're going to roll right into Heat 2 without any delay here.
Touch all your seatbelts, connect, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it. Favor, touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it.
Same thing as the first one. Some of the things to look out for will be top 3 and then top 13 for that LCQ. Starting on the front row, we've got Kyle Chestnut alongside Reese Landry, Al Bunch, and Sebastian Galloway Jr., Evan Snake and Donovan Heist, Matthew Hubert and Marvin Werner, Jamie McMurphy and Johnny Blaney, Sarah Robert and Rand Kataz, Borat Sagdiev and Joao Vitor, Travis Regan and Pedro Sales, Cooper Landry and Jeff Bolton, followed by Drew Clue, Hank Scorpio, and Gabe McDuffie.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Alrighty, here we go. Heat number 2. The first one was very tame. Will we maybe see a not so tame heat number 2? Chestnut trying to get out to the early lead here. Reese Landry stuck up on the high side. Al Bunch knocking on the door in the number 80. This one could turn into a bit of a wreck fest if we have some very excitable ARCA entries. This definitely has a feel like it could. Some of these ARCA stars a little bit more on the aggressive side. Borat Sagdiev usually races pretty aggressive. Jamie McMurphy, we've seen him make some bold moves on the racetrack. And for your transfer spot, there's a battle between Reese Landry and Evan Snake. Evan Snake's going to take third away from Landry. Oh, and Landry tried to run into the side of the 27 there, it looked like. He thought better of it. Pretty sure during the driver safety meeting before the race here today, they made sure to remind the drivers not to right hook each other, as that was a problem at the last couple short tracks that we've had. Reese Landry driving very erratically there. Just like that, Matthew Hubert now up to third in the transfer spot. Some folks are going to have to start fighting for 13th place while the top 3 get things situated. Looking at the back half of the field, you've got Pedro Sales and Drew Clue at the back, holding up the tail end of the line here. Rand Kataz, Joao Vitor, Johnny Blaney. And the racing looks like we're in the midst of a hornet's nest as they cannot keep it clean. Wow. Okay, we could see a wreck in the second heat. It's looking very, very sketchy out there. Hank Scorpio, the last of the drivers that would be making it to the LCQ, running where he's at right now. Al Bunch gets by Chestnut to take the lead here. Chestnut in second, Hubert in third. Snake, Reese Landry, McMurphy, Galloway Jr. making a bold move down on the inside of the 91 McMurphy. Borat Sagdiev, Travis Regan, Cooper Landry, Gabe McDuffie, Donovan Heist, and Hank Scorpio. Those are all just some names you'll see in the LCQ if they can hold on to it here. And they'll only be fighting for 2 spots in that 50-lap LCQ do or die. Still, there's opportunities here. These guys could close up on the group ahead of them. You could see a wreck. Anything could and possibly can still happen here. It doesn't get more high stakes than it does here tonight. One of the smaller fields that we have in Sigma ARCA racing. Very, very minimal times that this ever happens. We try to avoid these tracks too small to hold a full ARCA series race. But at the end of the night, we're getting some more racing action out of it. We're going to see some good side-by-side battles throughout the field. Some of these drivers flexing their muscles, trying to prove where they belong in the field. Oh. Okay, so I don't know what the heck has been different. I just can't. I can't. Every night now, all night, every night this week, we have had a game crash. And these races are short. We shouldn't even be worried about it. So, just so you guys know, the ticker's not going to work now. I'll give my best fly-by-fly. Usually the reason I restart my computer is to restart the ticker. After we get through the heat and the LCQ, I'll restart the computer again. Because all night, all week, I've been having problems with this dang game. So, reset. Hit the reset button. Al Bunch, Kyle Chestnut, Borat Sagdiev, and now Sales. Pedro Sales in the top 5. Our intern at the office pulled the plug on accident, and they're going to have to pay for it tomorrow. They decided to mess with the cord that says do not unplug in case of emergencies. And there was no emergency in the studios, so here we are with the grand reset of it all. Al Bunch back out to the lead like he was in the first running. But now Borat Sagdiev up to second. Kyle Chestnut in third. Galloway Jr. fighting for that third position. Like I said, the ticker is not working, so you know what? Let's just take that off. Let's go ahead and just go back to the essentials of good old NASCAR Racing 2003. I'm trying, folks, on the fly. I have banged my head against the wall all week long, and I guess it's the summertime. Even computers want to take a mental day off for whatever reason. Just so happens that my computers want to take a mental break every day of the week this week. And I thought I'd fixed everything. We'd been running strong for 5 months this year without any game crashes. Amazing, right? And I'm sure it has anything and everything to do with Windows updates. Every time that Windows decides to update, they got to change something in the processing that upsets the apple cart. So I'm starting to get tired of troubleshooting and figuring out what changes every time there's an update. Because quite honestly, we shouldn't be having this many problems with a 23-year-old game. But on top of that, it is a 23-year-old game, so I guess there's not much else you can do but continually bang your head against the wall. So 13th belongs to Gabe McDuffie. Gabe McDuffie. JD McDuffie was a NASCAR driver back in the 70s. You can see him in the Winless Driver Series here in Sigma, where we host once a year around Christmas time. We host a one-off event every year full of real-life racers in the Cup Series that have never gotten a win. So you'd find drivers like Mike Skinner, for example, or Chad Little. I'm trying to scratch my brain here to wake it up to all the winless drivers. Buckshot Jones is another one that's in it. You had a lot of these drivers back in the day. JD McDuffie. And then we even, you know, dig a little deeper. You know, unfortunately, the world had lost Adam Petty, and with Adam Petty, we have him in the series trying to get his one and all, you know, one win and you're done with the series. That's all it takes. You get out of the winless bracket. Kind of a neat, you know, neat concept that I threw together. And the roster stays the same every year, minus one driver that won it the past year. We've had Jeffrey Earnhardt win it. We had Justin Allgaier win it. And just last year it was Marty Robbins, a country musician NASCAR driver. He'd never won in NASCAR when he moved up there. So it's pretty neat to have Marty Robbins win the winless driver circuit. So as this heat's starting to wind down a little bit, 30 laps to go. Your top three still Al Bunch, Borat Sagdiev, Kyle Chestnut. And then LCQ bound, if they stay where they're at right now, would be Galloway Jr., Pedro Sales, Sarah Robert, Drew Clue, Evan Snake, Donovan Heist, Werner, McMurphy, and Hubert, along with Gabe McDuffie. Well, now I know that there's more problems with my computer than it is the track that we were running at the other night in Phoenix. Wish me luck, folks. After the streams tonight, I am going to diagnose trying to turn off as many startup programs, even though all of them are disabled as far as I know right now. Any other background processes that are leaching memory, that precious memory that I need to run a 23-year-old game. And maybe it's because I have other curriculars such as the ticker or background music. Background music is kind of my own personal touch. I'd rather have some kind of background noise when I'm not talking. And we're halfway through heat number 2 here tonight. And that would leave us with an LCQ. See, when the game crashes like this, it doesn't sting as bad because these are short races already. And sometimes it's nice to hit the shuffle on your playlist, you know? Get tired of listening to the same 15, 20 songs. Hit that shuffle button a few times and then voila, you got a, you know, better field to play with. One thing that could not be phased here tonight, though, is Al Bunch, who's been out front for this whole heat. Second heat race here tonight. Borat Sagdiev. Going to be interesting seeing him join the field with Shy Turtle here tonight. And for whatever reason, Kyle Chestnut shows up for these heat races. We haven't seen a whole lot of him once it comes to a full 40-car field. But these quick heat races definitely suit him, it feels like. Keep an eye on the second half of the field there, and if you look in the ticker there, or at least our standings block in the top right corner, you'll notice the 03 of Gabe McDuffie. It's getting close there with Joao Vitor catching up to him. If anything gets closer, we'll jump camera to him. But most of your drivers, looks like they're kind of settled in here. Heat number 2 is about to wrap up in about 15 laps, and I don't know if Galloway's going to have anything to catch Chestnut up there in 3rd. So far tonight, between Heat 1 and Heat 2, we have not seen any mechanical failures here yet. We haven't even seen a caution fall upon the track yet. But I think it's safe to say, without jinxing him here, that Al Bunch probably eyeballing a main event here tonight. That 80 has been a quick car here. Borat Sagdiev, Kyle Chestnut. Oh, and here we go. 8 laps to go. We're going to keep our eyes on the bubble spot here. Hubert, McDuffie, and Vitor, as one of these 3 is going to be going home. And a pair of them are going to be moving on to the main event. Just depends on how this all plays out here. McDuffie looks like gonna be able to hold on here. Vitor is gonna have to kick it in the butt. Of course, the others that are gonna end up going home behind this battle for position, you're gonna have Scorpio going home, Regan, the other Landry and Cooper Landry, Johnny Blaney, Reese Landry. Dang, both Landrys are going to fall out of this one. And Kataz. Vitor's going to have a couple laps left. And it's only going to be good enough to get into the LCQ. It doesn't mean a whole lot. You're still going to have to race through the LCQ. And it looks like that's all she wrote, folks. Gabe McDuffie. Well, I can't get ahead of myself. Got to remember, we're almost a lap behind the leader here. Vitor's got one more shot coming around turn 3, heading into turn 4. Exit at turn 4, though, it's going to be McDuffie. Moving on to the LCQ. No changes in your top 3, so. So, folks, there will be a slight delay as I get the roster set up for that LCQ event. Do remember the ticker is going to be out of commission until I get the race reset for the main event, which will be a full reboot of my computer. And hope that we don't have another crash this week. It's already been plagued with crashes this week, of all weeks. I don't know. Something in the air. I heard that it's a full moon tonight. And then also it's Friday the 13th tomorrow. So we're really pushing our luck. And as long as I can figure out a way to make the game not crash anymore as it is, man, that would be the day right there. So congratulations, Al Bunch. Hold tight, folks, as I get the roster set up. Grab a drink, maybe a snack. We'll be back with you in right around 5 minutes for that LCQ. Alrighty, this might be the toughest one of the night for these drivers. Only 2 make it on to the main event in this 50-lap LCQ. Starting on the front row, you've got Chris Jeremio alongside AJ Kosnoff, Sarah Robert and Sophie Harwick, with Tasha Wright, Gabe McDuffie, Kaylee Sheets, Bucky Campbell, Pedro Sales, Sebastian Galloway Jr., Matthew Hubert, Wormy Wormington, Dylan Smith, Craig Popgris, Drew Clue, Donovan Heist, Timothy Buchanan, Jamie McMurphy, with Evan Snake and Marvin Werner rounding out the field here. Two of these drivers will join the field for the main event of 150 laps here tonight. It was tough getting into this. I mean, you had 10 of the best from Heat 1 that didn't transfer and 10 of the best from Heat 2 that didn't transfer, making for a really anxious scenario that only 2 people can come out on top. I imagine the gloves are off here for this LCQ. Drivers are not going to hold back. They're going to push, 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 and ask for forgiveness later. Sarah Robert pushes Chris Jeremio up high, and it's going to be a drag race down the front stretch here. Tasha Wright moves up into third as we're looking a little bit further back. There's some movement on that inside line. We're starting to see drivers gain some spots in that inside groove, picking them off one by one. We're going to have to see who's got the fastest lap in this one. The 79, Sarah Robert so far with the fastest lap. And that's actually going to transition over to the potential lead, it looks like, as soon as she can get around Chris Jeremio. Her and Chris top 2 in the fast lap times. But here comes Tasha knocking on the door. She doesn't want to be sent home packing again. It's been a rough couple weeks for her as well. She's going to have to outdo Sarah Robert and Chris Jeremio, who are sitting right in front of her. Those two are not giving an inch. Chris Jeremio putting on one hell of a show here as Sarah Robert gets loose. You know, this right here is good quality racing. Side by side, one driver not wanting to give an inch, the other driver pushing as hard as they can. Tasha just waiting for one of them to make a mistake here as she hovers around in the background. Jeremio might have just made that mistake, and here comes Tasha hunting him down. He's definitely got the target on the hood. He might have the target resting back of his shoulders right now. She gave it a good push there. Might have to try again on the next lap. This might get interesting for second place. Third is fourth Kaylee Sheets, fifth Kosnoff, sixth Harwick, seventh Hubert, and here we got Drew Clue and Sales, as well as Dylan Smith rounding out your top 10. Looking at these drivers at the back half, it's not going to be an ideal night for them. At least where you finish in this race will earn you points. So the LCQ is good for something here tonight. After Sarah Robert and Chris Jeremio, this right here would be treated as 22nd place for Tasha Wright, 23rd, 24th, 25th. That's still a good points day, you know, midfield, 23rd on back for points. So they'll be credited with 50 laps of a 150 lap main event here tonight. Just kind of, I know it's kind of weird the way it works, but that's the way we'll score it here. So everyone in this LCQ is getting points here tonight. But you don't want to settle for 23rd or, you know, a 40th place in the points. You want to get into the top 20. And by finishing top 2 in this race, you'll be in that 21 car main event. Side by side, Jeremio trying to take the lead back from Robert. This is kind of a tricky place to be for Sarah Robert, as now Tasha Wright will have an opening. Oh, but 66 of Kaylee Sheets drives it down on the inside of the 90. All the gals are racing against each other here, and they're not giving any one of them a break, as Kaylee Sheets is going to get around Tasha Wright for third. Sarah Robert right in front of her holds that last transfer spot. We're closing in on halfway here in the LCQ. 22 laps in, 28 laps to go. Most of the ARCA drivers are going to be happy to know that we're going to be going back to some full field tracks here soon, and we'll be pretty much ending the last half of the season with a good stretch of them. So heat races and LCQs would go out the door at that point, and just good hard racing for max points on a given week. But this championship, it's been tied all year. We haven't seen them yet since they're going to be part of the main event here. Jonah Burridge from Australia and Finlay Herwig from the great UK have been duking it out with each other. We could potentially have one of our first international winners of the Sigma ARCA series. Of course, it's only our second year running the ARCA side of things. We actually haven't had an international, I take that back, in-house international champion. We have had international champions such as Will Power from Australia, and I want to say there was at least one other, but it wasn't someone within the Sigma community of racers, whereas we've grown past the real-life racing drivers in our series. It was an era. We got through that era, mostly because I didn't have a community to pick from for driver names. And so a lot of the, filler seats were Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Will Power, Scott Dixon. Oh, that's right. Scott Dixon won a championship. He's from New Zealand. So I guess theoretically there are international champions in Sigma racing, but this would be the very first in-house international Sigma racer. So, and it could be either Jonah Burridge or Finlay Herwig. Those two have been off to the races, for a better lack of better words to describe it. We do have a Canadian in the top 5 in Ryan White, who could potentially shake the boat towards the home stretch here. With as many weird races that we have, including the New York Street Circuit, Las Vegas is kind of a traditional one. But then we'll go to Langley, which is a short track a lot like this. We'll see a shorter field, but I think a little bit bigger than 21. Here we go. There's a change for the transfer spot as Kaylee Sheets gets by Sarah Robert. And now Sophia Harwick joining the front of the field here as we got 4 gals fighting for that last transfer spot. Chris Jeremio starting to drive away with it. But Sarah Robert loses that transfer spot, and she's floundering backwards here. 16 to go. Is Tasha going to have anything for Kaylee Sheets? Sheets has had a knack for these short tracks whenever we get to one. And she showed here tonight that she was waiting her chance to get up to second. It's actually the most passing we've seen here tonight. The heat races went pretty much without a lot of passing. And this one we have seen a few positions swap hands up at the top. Sigma metrics are kind of leaning towards this thing going caution-free. We have not seen a caution yet here tonight. Not a lot of data to go off of since this is a new track on the circuit. So we're probably going to go caution-free, which is not great news for the drivers stuck outside the top 5, gasping for air here. These are all drivers that are unfortunately going to miss out on the main event tonight. Ten laps remain here now at Berlin. As we're going to get set up for the Show Me the Money 150. And all the big names in Sigma, ARCA, they're going to be there, 21 of them. Alrighty, we are down to the last couple laps here. And it looks like Kaylee Sheets is going to be able to hold on here. Tasha's still knocking. She ain't going to give up until the last lap. She didn't hear no bell yet. Tasha wants to give it one more shot here. And so, just a heads up, folks, I will pause the stream once this one ends, reset my computer, get the roster set up, and I will ping the server once I go back live. Just want to get the ticker back working, and keep your fingers crossed, everyone. Hopefully, if everyone crosses their fingers, the game won't crash. And so, white flag waves, one more lap. Kaylee Sheets has the last transfer spot. Tasha wants it. But Tasha's not going to get there. Kaylee Sheets rolls out of turn 4, and we'll move on to the main event here tonight. So that means 22nd place belongs to Tasha Wright, points-wise. 23rd, Sarah Robert. 24th, Harwick. 25th, Kosnoff. 26th, Hubert. 27th, Clue. 28th, Sales. 29th, McDuffie. 30th, Galloway Jr. 31st, the 51 there of Smith. 32nd, McMurphy. 33rd, Werner. And they all pull on pit road without me getting to look through the rest of them, but y'all get the point. There is some points up for grabs. And so we will save the results there so I can make sure everyone gets their points. And so yeah, I'm sorry folks that I have to do it this way. I'm going to have to reset my computer and get things all stationed for the main event here. But congratulations to Chris Jeremio and Kaylee Sheets on making it out of the LCQ. So suspending the stream. If you guys want to stay here, just don't go anywhere. Stay on the YouTube channel. It's going to say that it's suspended or whatever. And I will notify the server once we go back. But just stick around. And within the next 5 minutes, hopefully, I'll be back with the main event.
Belts, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like... Favor, just touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it.
Well, Sigma race fans, this is interesting as your 2 heat races are actually the front row for the main event here tonight. Al Bunch and Snake Plissken out of nowhere qualified 1-2 for qualifying in the main event. Next in line, you've got Campbell Marsh alongside Heen Clutchoke, TG Castlenut and Craig Bush, Carlos Eduardo and Shy Turtle, Ralph Oberstadt and Jonah Burridge, Kyle Chestnut and Chris Jeremio, Kaylee Sheets and Ace Vaden, Finley Herwig and Borat Sagdiev, followed by Willow Blake and Santi Messi, Ryan White, Cassie Perkins, and Brandon Butler II. It is time for Show Me the Money 150 Sigma ARCA style here tonight. 150 laps definitely changes up the complexion of this race a little bit. Whereas the 50 lap heats, you kind of knew where you were going to shake out. Add an extra 100 laps, you might actually start seeing tire degradation factor in here tonight. They're off and they're rolling here. Al Bunch duking it out with Snake Plissken. Campbell Marsh there in third. TG Castlenut trying to get up a little bit further in the running order here, looking on the inside of the 16. And then it's 3 wide further back there. Shy Turtle stuck up on the high side. This could be trouble. Carlos Eduardo, oh, and they got very close to making contact there. I think they kept it clean. But it looks like the drivers have turned up the afterburners here for the main event. They're racing hard. They're racing extra. As Al Bunch, it looks like he's going to settle in here. Pliskin's going to drive around on the outside. They're still side by side for the lead. Great racing action here. Pliskin not giving up. Still sticking that nose. Racing against the defending Sigma Cup champion in a very unique scenario here. Filling in for the absence of a driver. Al Bunch jumps into the number 80 and running like a Sigma Cup champ only would in the ARCA series, leading the way. Willow Racing, the 99 there of Campbell Marsh. He's been able to win this season, and he's looking good here tonight. TG Castlenut looking to get as good of a finish he can get. It's been a while since we've seen him with top 5 speed, and it's looking good here at Berlin. But as it sits, Al Bunch, although a Sigma Cup champion, never came through the ARCA ranks. He started in trucks and bridge to Cup, make it up to the Cup Series like he did. When he joined the Sigma Racing circuit, ARCA didn't exist yet, so he is winless in this ARCA series, which is crazy to say. Al Bunch is winless in something. I feel like Al Bunch himself had this as a goal on his whiteboard to try and get a win in the ARCA series. And don't want to count your chickens before the eggs hatch. Still 140 laps to go, but Al Bunch looking strong so far. Well, let us jump to the back end of the field and see how everyone's doing. Currently 21st in the running order, it is Ace Vaden, Santi Messi, and Kaylee Sheets. Chris Jeremio, so 2 of your drivers that had to make it through the LCQ running towards the back half of the field. Kind of crazy how that works out sometimes. It just shows you how well the field is stacked in the talent department. We really do have 21 of the fastest cars out here in the main event tonight. Borat Sagdiev, Ryan White, Cassie Perkins, Brandon Butler, and Jonah Burridge. As it is right now, Jonah Burridge is behind Shy Turtle and Finley Herwig, who's fighting to get that points lead back away from Jonah Burridge. Willow Blake has cracked into the top 10, running the Pan scheme here in the month of June. She's had a good track record with this car. The first iteration, I think it found victory lane once. Mark, I might be wrong. Mark my words on that. I could be wrong. If we did the research, she's usually had a pretty good run when it's in the month of June. In front of her, you had Carlos Eduardo, Craig Bush, and Ralph Oberstadt here running in 7th for the now distant team owner for Toyota Racing Development. He's having a good showing, even with the uncertainty of this team for next year. Gonna give him one good final run for the season. Pliskin not able to find his way around Al Bunch at the moment. These two have the fastest cars on track as it is. You also got to start factoring in the possibility for lap traffic here in a longer race at the track. We'll get to see if Al Bunch has the ability to get through the traffic as quickly as possible, or if maybe that'll open the door for Snake Plissken and even Campbell Marsh in third to catch up to him. We are just shy of hitting the 15-second bracket here. We didn't see lap times that fast in the two heats in LCQ, and we almost have a 15.9. Plissken turned a 16.0, and at this point the tires are going to start going away from these drivers, so the fast lap times might disappear. 150 laps should not see any strategy, no pit stops. It's just going to come down to good, hard racing to the finish. Yeah, as NR2003 suggests, 220 laps the distance on a fuel tank here. So there is going to be absolutely no pit stops. I can guarantee that. And that's where the real racing kind of starts to break out. When you've got drivers that are out there on slick tires trying to survive and hold on for all they've got. Al Bunch might be looking like roses right now. But just you wait. Once those tires start to get away from him, that's when the real racer gets up on the wheel. This is definitely a certified Sigma moment. I don't think anyone would have forecasted Al Bunch and his newcomer, his teammate. You know, it goes to show you that it helps having the equipment under you. Snake Plissken got the call to join the team, and you're in pretty good equipment there. Be running right with the boss man at a short track like tonight. Kind of last minute, I didn't get to post the render for Plissken's car, as it's been a hectic week for me. As our thumbnail of the video suggests, it's been manic, and I've been rolling with the punches as much as I can here. And yeah, thumbnails do take a little bit of time to bake up, so that was the problem, as I wanted to get the races going, but I didn't want to go too late in the night where everyone had to tune out. So those of you that are staying tuned in, thank you very much. Hoping you're enjoying the race. We can all rue the fact that my computer decides to poop out on me during these races now in this week of turmoil. So I do feel like this could be a tale of two halves here tonight. You might see a very strong half from one individual, and they'll outdo it. They'll overuse, they'll cook their stuff. Maybe Al Bunch going a little too strong here. We'll see. That veteran, championship mentality will start to kick in, and I feel like Al Bunch could rise above, but you never know. He's got his hands full with his teammate right behind him. Still about half track from lap traffic. If you look at the lap times, they're turning 16 flats. Last driver on track is about 10 seconds out of it, so yeah, it'll be about lap 80 once they're right there on the back bumper of the lap traffic. And how fitting with the number 80 leading the way for the projected meeting of the lap traffic to be at lap 80. Still holding on to a solid third at the moment is Campbell Marsh, and I wouldn't count any of these drivers out. You want to be somewhere in the top 5, I would wager here. As I'm skimming through the field, it looks like Pliskin is catching way up on the back bumper of Al Bunch here. It's going to be hard to do any through the field checking on the drivers when these two are putting on such a stellar performance at the front. Lap times for Pliskin looking a little bit quicker. We might be seeing that degradation kick in a little bit earlier than I anticipated. We're not even a third of the way through tonight's event, and Al Bunch starting to lose a little bit of momentum. Well, and Al Bunch could very well put himself in a rare scenario if, and I'm saying if, because I don't mind jinxing things once in a while. If he were to win the race here tonight, he could potentially go for a win in trucks and become one of the first few drivers to have a win in 3 classes, including ARCA and Cup, which would be wild because you don't really have many ARCA drivers and Cup drivers simultaneous at the same time. And so Al Bunch, an outlier here. You know, a lot of the field have him circled on the agenda every week. They want to figure out what he's doing and how to beat him. He's just that good. And so Al Bunch is always a threat no matter what vehicle you put him in, no matter what track, race circuit. You might as well be even racing scooters in the middle of a mall, and Al Bunch would still find a way to whoop everyone. So that's where the storyline here is fascinating, seeing Snake Plissken in his series debut, nonetheless, holding the candle to the boss man in a very, very stellar fashion here. He has not let Al Bunch gain any ground. Lap traffic still about 30 laps out. It's closer to my projection as I anticipated, so. And those of you that don't know where Berlin is, this is a short track in Michigan. We just had the real life races here, and there's an ARCA race this weekend as well at Berlin. So Berlin very much alive and well, hosting big races throughout the year. Show Me the Money was actually won by Carson Hocevar last week. The late model event shares the same name as tonight's ARCA event. And so, yeah, it's, you know, I wonder if Al Bunch and Carson Hocevar are in cahoots showing up to a track that they don't often race at, kind of cherry picking and looking like a star on the field. But don't look now, folks. Battle for the lead as Pliskin takes the dive, gets by Al Bunch. He's gonna have to fight him with the momentum from the outside here, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Al Bunch settles into second. Those tires might be going away on Mr. Bunch's number 80 machine. Snake Plissken leads for the first time here in the main event. First career start, first career lap led. Oh! And is this going to be our first caution of the night? The 19 blowed up. Yes, sir. First caution. Lap traffic may not factor in after all if we don't get another long green flag run. But this definitely shakes things up. Blown engine out of Ace Vane. He was last on track anyways. First mechanical failure of the evening and the first caution of the evening. Now, what could get interesting here is if we do have some takers at the back half of the field that decide to go in for tires. As you can already see, tires are pretty vital here. I mean, no matter where you are in Short Track USA, tires are king. Your leaders would be foolish to pit. They're going to stay out. They know they've got the speed. But what's stopping, let's say, a Kyle Chestnut or a Willow Blake that's a little bit deeper in the field to take a gamble here and get some fresh tires? 88 laps is a lot of racing to go. And if you have those fresh tires, you're going to look like Superman on track. So far, no one taken the carrot on the stick. I, as a crew chief, would definitely send one of my drivers from 10th on back to come get some fresh tires for this restart. Just shy of halfway. As you can see in the side-by-side standings there, Al Bunch has led 57 laps so far, 1/3 of the race under his belt. Snake Plissken has been up for 5 laps, count it 6, as the pace car comes around the start-finish line there. Plissken joins the series a bit too late to be a threat for the championship, as there's no playoffs, there's no gimmicks here in Sigma ARCA. It's a full season of points, so we've seen this story a few times where a driver joins late in the season and finds victory lane right out of the gate. I don't know. I don't write the story. It just plays itself out, so. And the funny part is we've seen it with another driver that had been in the number 24 in Kyler Sestre. The only problem, though, Kyler Sestre kind of fell backwards into irrelevance after winning right out of the gate. So don't want to follow that same trend for Plissken, but, you know, sometimes you set the bar a bit too high winning right out of the gate. Now you look at the likes of SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, and everyone thinks he's got to win every road course because his first start, he went out there and won the Chicago Street Race and has since not won any more cup races. But everyone expects him to be that road course ringer. So, I don't know. We'll see. They get rolling on the restart here, and Plissken has that lead still. Al Bunch, Campbell Marsh, And now position change here for fourth, perhaps, getting Heen Clutchoke side by side with TG Castlenut. Clutchoke has been on a stellar tear as of late. It's impressive what we've seen out of the 16 camp as I refer back to our point standings this season. And the last couple of races for the 16 team, they've had 2 top 5s, back-to-back top 5s. They've actually had 3 top 5s in the last 4 races. So short tracks are treating Heen Clutchoke very well. And in the top 5 right now would be another great night for that 16 team. Well, that's an unscheduled pit stop from Borat Sagdiev. He had a fuel leak. 14 with a fuel leak. But it has not slowed anyone down. No caution waves. There's no noticeable liquid on track. Most of that fuel burns off pretty quickly anyways. It's Pliskin out front. And that window is about 80 laps to catch up to lap traffic. That may have changed a little bit with Borat's, unscheduled pit stop there. They're going to definitely catch Sagdiev before the end of this one if it stays green. Well, the student is the teacher tonight, as he's laying a beat down on the team owner. He's starting to really get away from him now. All it took was getting around Al Bunch, and now things are looking a little more bleak for the 80 team. It was pretty wild when he took the lead and came around the front stretch when the 19 was blowing up. I almost thought that the 24 was going to get loose and wreck. He was simply sliding across the front stretch to avoid the slowed traffic, but it still looked pretty wild. Well, and as I kind of called it, I thought this could be a tale of 2 halves. And it's looking like the second half might be a little bit harder on Al Bunch after he's used up his tires. Al Bunch is probably going to have to go on the defense here before long and keep the 99 from getting around, possibly even the 16, who's looking very stout here. Laps are really flying here at Berlin as we're down to 61 laps left to go out of the 150 lap main event. Let us spotlight some of the other storylines here. As we look back a few spots, in 7th you got Ralph Oberstadt, who currently sits 5th in the points, 86 out of the lead. He's going to gain some points on some key drivers that are in better spots ahead of him. Santi Messi, he's going to probably get past him for 4th based on their running order right now. Yeah, Santi way back in 19th. Borat is caught back up to the main pack here, amazingly enough. I don't know if they maybe put some fresh tires on when he came down to get that gas leak fixed. The other storyline right here with Finley Herwig, who is 26 points out of the lead from Jonah Burridge. Well, he's right there ahead of Jonah Burridge by 1 spot. Burridge is not going to lose the points lead as they run right now, but would lose some points to Finley Herwig. Herwig's hoping he can get by a couple more drivers and start growing the points gained on the 45. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty with 55 laps left to go. And Pliskin is out on a leisure cruise at the front of the field. Al Bunch not even able to hold a candle to his teammate now, where once they were running neck and neck, Pliskin putting out some heaters at the front of the field. This is definitely one of Pliskin's strong suits when it comes to track types. He cut his teeth out on the short tracks and got a lot of experience. So hopping into an ARCA car here tonight was kind of like a common workplace for him. It's shown here tonight, as it seems like he's not skipped a beat from the heats to the main event. That 24 is on a rail. But is he going to be able to maneuver through lap traffic when it comes down to it? He may or may not catch the back end of the lead lap cars, but if he does, it might not be within much more than 10 laps to go. So I don't know if Al Bunch is even going to have a chance to catch back up. It's not the first time we've had a newcomer join the circuit, go out on a dominant tear. Sometimes it takes a week or two and things get kind of, you get shaken into the mix. And, like tonight we saw Al Bunch on the pole. The other couple of races that we've run with Al Bunch have been mid-pack at best. So perhaps the formula was hit just right here tonight for the 24 team. They had the best qualifying that they could have done, the best engine, the best driver. All just kind of came together in one grand puzzle. It's kind of fitting having the Outlaw as your sponsor octane booster there. He may develop a nickname out there. We used to have Atman or Atlee Badman Weiss in the series. Kind of in line with that outlaw title, you know. Al Bunch, well, he wins a bunch, so his last name is kind of his nickname, Bunch of Wins, Al Bunch. But tonight, not going to be able to add to that bunch. Campbell Marsh, not to be confused with Bucky Campbell. How funny is that we've got a Campbell Marsh and a Bucky Campbell, while Campbell Marsh is sponsored by Bucky's and the other is simply named Bucky. So yeah, not to be confused with the other Campbell that has the last name of Campbell. The Bucky's Toyota for Willow Racing, having a solid performance here in third. Heen Clutchoke still looking to hold on to a solid top 5 finish tonight. LFG Motorsports definitely on the uphill swing. They're bouncing back, looking good. TG Castlenut, we knew that car had the speed, had the potential for top 5 runs. He's showing it here tonight with a top 5. And he's had to fight amongst some very strong contenders there. We'll see if in the final 37 laps if he can get anything else out of that car. And then you've got Kyle Chestnut, Ralph Oberstadt, Craig Bush, Willow Blake, Carlos Eduardo, Shy Turtle. He's constantly running about top 10 each week, and it's been good enough to keep him in the conversation for some title suggestions. It's a long shot, very long shot, but he could still, with a little bit of luck, become a contender this year. Yeah, Borat Sagdiev definitely has fresh tires. Even though he's 4 laps down from the repairs going down pit road, this is what I was saying as a pit crew. You should have sent some people down pit road to get fresh tires. It makes a world's difference. Well, Snake Plissken is going to have to deal with some lap traffic here as he's catching up to the 5 of Santi Messi. Once he does, we're going to have to keep an eye on the delta between him and Al Bunch to see if the deficit closes or grows. But he's definitely caught the tail end of the field a lot quicker than I thought he would. As a racer, this is definitely one of the last true tests of any race, is your ability to navigate through traffic. You know, you haven't had to deal with traffic all day because you're the leader. Is it simply because you've got the lead, or do you have a car that's strong enough to work through traffic as well? I do think that Al Bunch definitely used his tires up and paid the price here at the end. You know, a lot of these drivers, it's a game of chess. And maybe tonight Al Bunch was playing checkers. You know, running fast in the beginning doesn't really transition over to a win at the end of the night. Yeah, you could be fast out of the gate, but you got to have that capability to finish the race at the end of the night with that speed intact. And Snake Plissken has proven that the Al Bunch Incorporated Dodge Dart, not skipping a beat here. 25 laps left to go. The deficit stays about constant. It's about a 3.9 second lead for Plissken with 24 to go. At this point, Snake Plissken might be just kind of safetying up. Instead of catching the lap traffic, just kind of fall in line here and run his own race. Well, we're down to 18 laps to go, and you can see he has caught that tail end of the field. And it's a pretty dense pack there, as he's got about 4 cars he's going to have to work with. Al Bunch has dropped to almost 4.5 seconds out of the lead. So it's only gotten worse for Al at the end stretch here. 4.4 seconds back. And Snake Plissken is he's gonna run some truck races too. Didn't get to run this last truck race, as he's gonna hop in the other division on the East Coast. And the next race for the USA Trucks East coming up is Michigan next week. So we'll have to see how Plissken fares in his truck debut coming up next week as well. I must say it's definitely earned himself an A+ here tonight in his ARCA debut. Not only did he qualify well, but he had to earn it. He had to get by his team owner, who had the lead for the first 57 laps, but since then, Plissken has not looked back. On a tear here, leading the other 50+ laps after his team owner. If you look here, Plissken has led 79, 80 laps and still counting. Al Bunch only led those first 57. Al Bunch has fallen to a full 5-second deficit from the lead. And with 11 laps to go, Plissken, with lap traffic in front of him, just got to keep it clean and avoid getting in a wreck here. Al Bunch ate into that lead just a little bit as lap traffic's holding him up here. But it's not going to be enough with 8 laps to go. .95 turned into 4.93. Al Bunch is not gaining at all, really. Although gaining minuscule gaining of ground, but Yeah, 4.8. Starting to look like this is all she wrote, folks. Snake Plissken's got 7 laps left to go to prove it. These drivers really pulled out all stops for the main event here tonight, going as fast as they can, running as strong as they can. 70 making a late pit stop for a flat tire. That's where you got to keep your eyes peeled that there's not a mechanical failure here in the final 5 laps that totally shakes up the race. Al Bunch 4.5 seconds back. Wow, up to 3rd. Heen Clutchoke gets by Campbell Marsh. Marsh falls back. TG Castlenut still with a 5th. Jonah Burge trying to get around Herwig for points in his favor. Still a lot of movement in the field here, it looks like. But Snake Plissken here looking to join a very rare and exclusive group of Sigma racers. Names like Jimmy Logano, Cooper, Dwight, and there's got to be at least a couple more that have won in their first ever career Sigma start. Those two come to mind because those were the 2 drivers that did it last year in their first career starts. Well, Snake Plissken may very well join that group here tonight amongst 2 of the bigger names that are racing in Bridge to Cup right now. Snake Plissken rolls around turn 4 for the final time tonight, collecting the checkered flag in the Sigma ARCA Show Me the Money 150. The Outlaw brings it home tonight victorious against all odds with his team owner coming in 2nd there. So, wow. What an unexpected moment here tonight, folks. First start, first career win. At least the 3rd driver in the last 2 years to do that. Cooper Dwight and Jimmy Logano better look out because there's a new sheriff in town. The Outlaw, Snake Plissken. You know, performances like that will definitely move you up the ladder quicker than most. And he's got a good team owner in his corner with Al Bunch. So if Al Bunch can keep his talent and craft him up the ladder, Al Bunch could be a threat with some of his stars waiting in the wings. So ultimately, thanks for those of you that tuned in here tonight. Sorry it's a late night. It's almost midnight on the East Coast. It's almost Friday the 13th. Actually, it is Friday the 13th on the East Coast. It's 12:30 over there, so maybe the good luck bug is hit on Friday the 13th for Snake Plissken and Al Bunch. It's kind of crazy to think of good luck on Friday the 13th. That was just sheer strength and determination tonight that we saw out of those 2 cars. They put on one stellar performance, put on a clinic for the rest of the field. And so this kind of concludes our short track swing of the season, as we're going to start getting back into the full field races for the Sigma ARCA series. And we do have the Chili Bowl next, which is also a complete wild card. Being on a dirt track with the ARCA cars, you never know what's going to happen there. So 17 races in, 9 races to go. And yet again, congratulations to Snake Plissken. That's, you know, nothing sweeter than your first, nothing sweeter than winning the first on your first attempt. That's hard to do for everyone involved. So great nights for a lot of drivers. TG Castlenut with the top 5. Heen Clutchhoke with a podium, top 3 finish. Ralph Oberstadt trying to crank out those points. And Willow Blake on backup service.
Brake sensor went off.
Willow Blake a top 10. She was a regular in ARCA last year. She's now fighting for a cup ride this year. Well, and that's a wrap, folks. We got it in without too much trouble. One crash of the game, which I'm going to go hard to work right now after this stream closes to fix my computer so we don't have more crashes. Hopefully all have a great night. Stay safe out there. It is Friday the 13th after all. Steer clear of any black cats, any shady fellows, and just stick to the pathways you know. So hopefully we'll see you on the next stream. We had a cup race tomorrow night, so if you want to tune in and watch a full-length cup race from Michigan on Friday the 13th, we'll have it. So with that, congrats Snake Plissken, Al Bunch, and everyone else. We're heading on to the next one next week. This is Jakester signing out.